I think the biggest thing that drives me crazy, though, is when people say all of these things and, like, preach them, maybe even teach other people about them, and, like, don't follow it at all. Like, I've worked with people who talk about these things who, like, low-key bullied me a little bit. And it's like, how are you the epitome of treat people nice when, like, you made me cry? Somebody literally made me cry.
What
and I don't cry very much. And honestly, you know, I'm not even going to let you know who you are so you don't get the satisfaction.
Welcome to The Dive, the official podcast of Wavestream Media. I'm Mark.
And I'm Cece. We're the founders of Wavestream, and this is where we slow down, talk it out, and dive into the stuff that deserves a little more airtime.
One topic, one story, or one person per episode. Whether it's something we're building, something we're questioning, or something we just can't stop thinking about.
Let's dive in.
Ugh, what's going on?
Nothing. I mean, when we're recording this, it's launch week, so we're not a secret anymore officially, which has been really exciting and very wonderful to see how many people have been so supportive as well.
Yeah, I was not expecting just like this massive outburst of support that we've gotten over the last couple of days, just like sharing our stuff on social media. And It's really, it's getting me a little misty-eyed. I'm just really happy and so proud of all of my friends and family.
Yes, it definitely has been, I will say, even interesting to see who has shared things. Like, someone who I did pageants with her daughter when I was 12, I'm now 28 years old, shared it on Facebook. I was like, well, thank you for doing that. I probably haven't talked to her since then, but I appreciate the support, you know?
Yeah.
It's been really wonderful and very grateful and very excited that people know now. And it's just been a really fun week so far.
It has. I mean, and it's apart from just like the fun and excitement of it all, it's been just kind of like a nice, I feel like it's almost like a return to normalcy for me. Like it feels like I'm not like in this crazy like hustle and bustle mode of like getting everything ready for launch week. And it's just getting some editing done and having a little yap with my friends.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit like limbo the last couple of months, like trying to do everything. It's just been a little bit, you're right, it's been a little bit weird in the in-between. Because I think we mentioned this, but I haven't had any period of time where I haven't been employed up until, you know, this May, since I was like, for the last 10 years. And so it was kind of weird to have that moment and then to have this, okay, I'm going to build this business moment, because it's like very how and what am I doing? And so now that it exists, somehow it feels more normal. I don't know why.
Well, we have talked on this program before about how we've been doing this. Yeah, you know, tune in every week. Don't touch that dial. But we've talked a little bit about how we've been doing this for so long. Like this is not really anything out of the routine for us. And so now that, you know, like it's officially official, it kind of just feels like we're back to normal, back in that routine.
Exactly. But it is a good segue into what we want to talk about this week, which is culture. We're building our own culture here, people, at Wavestream Media. And the culture is what I like to say every culture should be, which is just be normal. But in my experience, that is not every culture, whether it's corporate or startup. There is a lot of being a little bit of a freak and not normal involved in that situation. And I kind of just want to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's so funny you say that, because I think my normal is being kind of a freak and not normal, but it is genuinely me. It is what I consider my normal.
Right. And something that I'm sure we'll get into is there are a lot of people who talk about the importance of like bring your whole self to work and like, you know, meeting people where they are authentically, et cetera, in like business. And it seems that they don't mean it. That's all I'm going to say about that, because no matter how many times you say that, if you still be acting fake, then I'm confused. I'm very confused. I'll just put it that way. So here, welcome to Wavestream Media, where you can be a little bit of a weirdo if you want. Just be normal and get your job done.
Amazing. That's all I ever wanted to hear.
Right.
Is there anything just off the rip that really gets you when you're thinking about it in that framework of like, just be normal? Like, what's something in terms of corporate culture, startup culture, company culture that just jumps out at you as like, whoa, 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 whoa?
The biggest thing, I'll say the biggest thing, and all of my friends will make fun of me when they hear this, but the vibes are off. Like, I just don't know how to describe it. The vibes are consistently off. And I think the thing that really makes me feel like these are robots, not people, is like all of the jargon that people use. When sometimes I really think if we were just saying what things actually were, it would probably go faster and people would understand more. But I see some TikTok videos about it sometimes. And like, the terms that people use, like you have to have, do you know what a daily scrum is?
No.
I didn't either. I thought scrum, I did know was in rugby. Thank you. I'm an athlete. But it's apparently just like a morning meeting, just a check-in. Like, oh, we have to have our morning check-in. Why are we calling it a scrum? We're not playing rugby. Like, let's just be normal.
Yeah, like if I was thinking about a scrum, I'd be thinking about two guys up against the boards in hockey having to go, you know?
Right.
Throwing
and is
hands.
that not a disgusting word? Let's just not even get into that. People talk about moist being gross. Scrum is nasty sounding. And y'all telling me you want to scrum every morning? Like, be so for real with me right now.
There's another one that's similar to that. Not like a one-on-one, but there's another, like, I don't know.
Stand up.
Stand up. That's the
We're
one.
Sitting, people. Let's be honest. I'm not doing a tight five for you. We are sitting down having another meeting.
And look, I'm not at good nights. I'm not, look, ain't funny about work. Like sometimes we got to get done. Okay. And look, I'm happy to bring a level of levity to any sort of meeting that we're in. Mm-hmm. But like, if I'm talking about what needs to happen, that's what I'm talking about, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. It's like we need to have our weekly stand-up, our daily scrum, our monthly, I don't know, whatever. Like, guys, let's just have a meeting, and this is what we're going to talk about, and let's just be done with it. Because, like, then it also provides, like, this type of alienation where it's like, we know something that you don't. We know what this means. Other people don't. Like, it creates this weird in-group and out-group, and I will say, when I moved from... Like, I worked at a really big institution, like thousands of people worked there. And I never really had this problem. But when I was at another place, they used a lot of phrases like this. And I was like, am I stupid? Like, is there something wrong with me that I don't know? Like, I felt really on the outside because it was just not clear what was going on. And they say they want to welcome you in. But if they're using words that you don't know and not trying to explain it to you, then, like, low-key, you're kind of not being welcomed, you know?
That's such an interesting point you make, because I think that we live in an era where there's a lot of people who are really cognizant of the idea of inclusive language and making sure that your language is inclusive for everybody and just like their lifestyle, you know, like their pronouns, how they want to be referred to in their job title. And I think that's, you know, fantastic and a great way to do it. But I do think that unnecessary industry lingo is kind of contributing to the problem. You know, and sure, you know, you need to have at least some industry. Look, nobody's going to tell a doctor to, rename a disease to make it more descriptive and not jargon. Nobody is going to tell, a computer science expert, basically to redescribe something in like coding's like a complicated thing, right? You need complicated language to describe it. You don't need complicated language to describe. Yeah, exactly.
Things are stupid. Words are dumb. We use lots of dumb words, but you don't need words like that in scenarios like these. You can just have a meeting and it's going to be okay.
Just call it a meeting.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Let's be honest. Clear descriptors of things.
Yeah, this kind of brings up a point that I really wanted to touch on a little bit. And it's in the same kind of vein of just words being important. So one thing that really bothers me about startup culture is this language about solving a problem. And I think
we're filling a gap. We're
yeah, it's ubiquitous in that scene. And I understand why. Like, I think that it makes a lot of sense when you're thinking about your business in that kind of framework. That's why people buy things, is to solve their problems.
Right.
But you don't have to describe your business to other people like that. Like, you don't have to go to somebody else and be like, oh, my prop tech business is solving the problem of timeshare management. there's no problem to solve there. You're just kind of exploiting people for money in real estate because it's a lucrative market. Like if you wanted to solve a problem, why aren't we making something that helps with affordable housing or, facilitating things that people really need instead of just,
appeals to a large majority and has like a bigger impact on the world. I agree. It's like if we said we're here to solve a problem. People don't know how to edit and produce their podcasts, so that's what we do. Obviously, the world doesn't necessarily need that. It could keep turning without it. It's not a problem that is common for everybody.
Exactly. And I mean, just to sort of drive this home, it's fine to think about and use that framework while you're sort of theorizing and building up your business, but it's not like a flex when you're talking to people about it.
Yeah, we're solving. What are some of the most fun problem solvings that you've seen startups or heard startups?
I mean, I think the prop tech one was really big for me because
what is prop tech? This is more jargon I don't know.
Prop tech is property technology. So what I heard about specifically was like an app that helps people like manage timeshares. Like, I buy a timeshare, but we share it with 3 other families. Mm-hmm. So basically facilitating that and facilitating.
I feel like that could be a group text, but maybe I'm oversimplifying it.
Right. I mean,
a shared Google Calendar.
I am sure that there is like a need for it. But and you know what? I don't think there's any problem with solving first world problems, but like, I don't think that it's just using it as in conversation, like describing your business, I think it's kind of, I don't know. I just hate it. I really hate it. It's cringe.
Yes. In terms of startup culture, there's nothing that gets on my nerves quite like corporate culture does, but I think the overall just like glorification of the hustle and the hustle mindset, and like I think there's been some moving away from that sort of, but you still see plenty of people who have not leaned away from that, who are still very much in the hustle mindset of everything. And I think that's just like kind of sad, honestly. And it doesn't have to be the case. Like we have been hustling and we've been working hard and we have lined things up for ourselves well already. But I mean, we still like try not to work on Fridays and like don't work on the weekends and quit working in the evenings because we enjoy also having a life.
Yeah, I think that people talk about work-life balance and, that's a fine point. But I think that this is really like a more, to me, like a more tangible way to focus on it. As work-life balance feels like such like an ethereal concept. Like there is no work-life balance. People say that all the time. But to think about like just the hustle, like how much effort and energy are you putting in? Like when I'm working, I'm putting in maximum effort. But because I'm putting in that maximum effort, when like 5 or 6 o'clock rolls around, like I have to be done, or else I'm just going. That's how you burn out, buddy.
Exactly. And I feel like people should have learned that point by now, but perhaps no. But
it's a bit of a weird time just because like we're still in that sort of, I don't want to call it like, we're still in that sort of like refractory period from the pandemic where working from home and working remotely is still like new-ish, like new enough to where we're still kind of figuring things out. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think that there is still that temptation for some people to just work all the time because, you don't have to go to the office to do it.
Yeah, I also think that this is a different conversation, but I'm just going to mention it, touch on it briefly. Like when I have been told to go to the office, I think in my very first kind of office job, I was there 2 or 3 days a week. I could function in there pretty well, but also like I spent a lot of time doing stuff that wasn't work, walking around. They had unlimited M&Ms at that place. I was getting M&Ms all the time, Diet Coke all the time, just walking up and down the hallway for fun. When you put me in an office environment, I'm talking to everybody. I'm not focused. I need to be, if you want me to be productive, I have to be at home. But I also, to that point, think that people like put so much more pressure on themselves to keep working all the time, and employers put a lot of pressure on people to keep working all the time when they're at home. When in reality, if you were somewhere, you would probably be getting done a third of what you actually get done when you're at home. At least that's my truth. I hate when people say that too, but that's entirely different podcast.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel it. Like, to me, I think there's a balance somewhere in the middle of all of it. Like, I work extremely well from home, but sometimes I get distracted because, there's things at the computer that I want to do that aren't editing podcasts. The same thing's true at the office. Like, if I'm at the office, maybe there's less of those distractions in terms of just like things open in other windows, but there's the distraction of like the people around me. Like, I want to talk, I want to catch up, I want to have a good time, I want to build chemistry. And so, like, to me, like, if I really need to like go somewhere and focus, I go to like the library or like somewhere where I can really just kind of zone out and just be away from everything else. And that's fine, but sometimes I need that. Sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Different things work for different people.
Absolutely. And I was just about to bring that up too. Another thing that I think kind of drives me crazy is when like having to go into the office is one of them. Like almost borderline like forcing people to go into the office, especially if like they don't need to or that's not the way that they work. And then just like that makes me think about forcing culture in general. So like basically it just reminds me of when your parents would tell you to do something as a kid and then it made you want to do it less,
Yeah.
Like if you try to force people to have these relationships with each other, they're like even less likely to be real friends. And I think that it's almost like a lot of times the executives, the people who are like, in charge are really forcing these people together and the children just don't want to play. Like, and that's okay. They don't have to, And I think that it's hard. It's why are you going to try to make a group of adults be best friends? Like, I think it's the trying to get people to bring them whole selves to work, but like in the wrong way. Like we're trying to force you to be friends in a way so you feel like you have this psychologically safe space. That's something people talk about a lot all the time now, psychological safety. I'm sorry, but like until people are really able to be authentically themselves, nobody is psychologically safe in the workplace, but that's another conversation to have. Yeah. I keep saying that, but it's like you force all these people, you think if you can force them to be together, then they will feel safe and they will feel like friends and family, but like you have to let people just be themselves, and then relationships that will form, and you don't have to be friends with everybody. And I don't know how to say that more loudly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're spot on. I think that sort of genuinely presenting as yourself and being your true authentic self is so important. And I mean, just in general, it's hard to be vulnerable around people. Like, people say the same thing. It's hard to make friends as adults, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why, like, there ends up being this sort of, like, I don't want to call it like a dollhouse approach, but everybody being forced to come into the office and spend this time together. Because, frankly, that's one of the ways that we build relationships and community as adults is through the people we work with. And you know what? That's fine. That's great. But, it can't be forced, right?
It's like if somebody forced you to be friends with everybody you went to school with, that would just not work.
Yeah. Look, I'm a pretty friendly guy. I got a lot of friends. There's a lot of people I don't want to like, and I don't want to hang out with. It's just a fact.
Mark.
Yeah. But I think one thing that I think gets lost a lot in culture is just, if you're not going to like force it, like if you're not going to put people in the fishbowl and just like drop some pizza and Diet Coke in there and hope that everybody has a good time, like how do you do it? Like, how do you not only like make company culture that is meaningful to you, but also just like, how do you think? Because like, look, this is our first business. We're creating the company culture here and now, but like, how do you think it happens?
I've heard enough podcasts about mentorship and leadership and blah, blah, blah to have heard a lot of the phrases that people say. But I mean, it's also like goes back to elementary school as well. Just like lead by example. If I'm going to show up and I have always been exactly this way. I will continue to be exactly this way as an attorney. This is who I am. This is how I talk. This is how I act. That's it. Whether you like it or not, that's okay, because we don't have to be friends, and that's gonna be fine. But what I'm not gonna do is show up and put on some type of performance that is not actually me, and make other people think like this is not a place where you can be yourself, because you have to act in this way to fit in this place. And I don't think that it is, obviously not to a degree where you're like unprofessional, but like,
yeah,
I still am very professional, but I'm still myself, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing. People, and I think it's a lot of a generational thing too. Like, I think people who are more in those leadership positions now for places are still kind of, we're in when you couldn't do that, when like being yourself wasn't cool, and
no,
like
totally
they can
right.
say that they've unlearned that, but like
it's
a
deep.
part of them,
it's really deep,
can't overcome that.
Yeah,
trauma.
I've got a lot of friends in that sort of Gen X like range, and you see a lot of them like, and they say the same sort of thing. Like, you know, they were, you know, they started going to work in that time frame where you didn't complain, you just kind of kept your head down and worked, and like, you know, being yourself at work was not a thing you did. And cool, you know, I understand that it's hard to unlearn learned behavior. I mean, it's one of the hardest things to do, period, to like make new habits and just like change overall. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. Whereas like I mean, it feels like basically almost our whole lives, like that's just kind of the environment that we've been encouraged to be in, is just, you know, be yourself, you know, be kind, those sorts of things. I don't know if maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe being, you know, kindness is the new punk rock. I don't know if you've heard that.
Right. No, thank you for letting me know. No, I agree. And I think that that's ultimately when I say like, I just wish everybody would be normal. That's what I mean. Like, just be who you actually are, treat people well, and don't make it weird. Like, just be normal. I can't think of, it's such a certain type of energy that it just, it permeates, and it makes everyone else so uncomfortable. Like, and you can just kind of feel it, you know? And you can feel when somebody is being fake in any situation in life. And like, when I walk into an office and I'm like immediately hit with that energy, you know, you can feel it.
It's like the Stepford Wives or like something like that, where it's like everything looks normal on the surface, but like the energy is so off, and because of that, you feel like
it's like Severance.
It's like Severance. Yeah, if something's not being said, you know there are secrets, and like you ask questions, and this is something I think that happens a lot in business that gets me really riled up, is like you ask questions and people don't respond with answers.
Yes.
They respond. Yeah.
And then later, this has happened too. Later, not only do you find out that the answer that you didn't get was like, I mean, it probably wasn't even relevant. A lot of times you find out people have lied. Yeah. And that's like, how are you supposed to build an environment where you want everybody to be friends, where you want people to feel safe, where you want X, Y, Z, whatever, and you lying to people too? Like, in plenty of places I know do it, and they think, well, this isn't their problem, they don't need to know that. Well, add that to the list. Treat people kindly, be yourself, and don't fucking lie. Like, we're grown. Did nobody teach you that?
Right. What novel concepts?
Yeah, what can I say? I'm really controversial on this. But yeah, and on top of that too, particularly in corporate, I love working at a small business and smaller businesses. And like I said, I've worked at places, I've had like 15 jobs. I've worked at places where there have been 2 people, like tens, hundreds, thousands of people who work in these places. And so I feel like I have an idea. I like working at smaller places because you just be like, okay, this is the decision, let's go. Like, this is what I'm doing, we're done.
Yeah.
I hate when it's like 15 layers of people have to approve something, and it's like, it's so not that deep, and then by the time it's approved, like the time's already passed, you know?
Yeah, the red tape problem is
yes. I feel like you should just, if you hire somebody to do a job, you should trust them enough to do it without having to have a bajillion people look over it.
Yeah.
That's just,
you know, when I was working at Vail Resorts, again, that's a huge company, thousands of employees across the world. I felt like the company culture there worked really well because I worked at a couple different smaller parts of it. I worked at like different restaurants within the resort, and the company culture was just it permeated. It was, there was a relaxed nature, but it also like you worked hard, you were taken care of, and it seemed like there wasn't that red tape problem, like you would almost say like in these individual divisions of the company. And if you let's call each of those divisions the different restaurants, people were just trusted to get stuff done. Like you don't have to go up to corporate to make decisions about menu and planning. You go to the restaurant manager who is empowered to make these decisions.
Well, they hired them because they were capable of doing the job. They shouldn't have to have somebody else tell them how to do it.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those like trust works both ways kinds of things, right? Like you need to trust your employees just as much as they need to trust you.
Yeah. And if you don't trust your employees, they're absolutely not going to trust you. A single thing you do or say.
This is one of the reasons why I'm so happy that we're working together and continuing to work together, because you know exactly what kind of a weirdo freakazoid I am. We've got a strong level of trust, and like I just got to be normal.
Yes,
that's all I ever wanted.
I know. And the thing is I think all of the things that we've talked about so far and mentioned are not too much to ask. I really don't. I think it probably does go back to so much behavior to unlearn, but I really do have hope that when younger generations are like really taking over, that's not a problem that people have anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I hope that they don't learn it and have to unlearn it, and it's a vicious cycle forever. I think the biggest thing that drives me crazy, though, is when people say all of these things and, like, preach them, maybe even teach other people about them, and, like, don't follow it at all. Like, I've worked with people who talk about these things who, like, low-key bullied me a little bit. And it's like, how are you the epitome of treat people nice when, like, you made me cry? That somebody literally made me cry. I don't cry very much. And honestly, you know, I'm not even going to let you know who you are so you don't get the satisfaction. But, you know, it's just like the hypocrisy, I think, is the word that I go back to. Like, it's so hypocritical. It's almost worse than if you just didn't try. Than if you do try, or you talk about trying, or you tell other people how to do it and then you do the opposite. I would rather you just be dumb. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to your earlier point of like, you got to lead by example. Like the whole idea of the fishbowl is like, sure, it's, you know, if you want to have people in the office together, that's fine. But like, it has to start from the top down. It has to start from, you know, everyone in the company needs to be on board, like with culture, right? Like it's I mean, that's the thing about culture, right? Like if we're talking about like American culture, like it's not like one person decided what American culture is. It's something that we as like a people have decided what it is. Like it is all the different kinds of arts and music that are not only around, but popular. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing in just like company culture. Like everybody gets, you know, it's not like you have to have like a town hall and like get people like raise your hand if you think we need to have Fridays off. No, like,
because I would argue that's not normal. No town halls.
Right. Exactly. No town halls, no fireside chats.
Right. Like, oh, that's another terrible one. I hate the word chat generally, but fireside is even worse.
Chat, are we cooked?
That I like. But if somebody's like, oh, let's have a chat, I'm like, no, we can talk. Let's just talk. You know, if you want to talk to me about it, talk to me about it. But I don't want to have a chat with you. To me, I don't know. The word annoys me. It implies something else that is like trying to make itself more fun. It's not. But I think that might be overreaching.
Yeah. You know, words are important.
Yes, that one just annoys me. I don't have a good justification for that one. Anyway, I cut you off. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, the point was, yeah, like everybody in the company together makes company culture. I think what that really means is that, again, you know, you want to lead by example, and that's at all levels of the company, right? Like if you want people to be themselves, if people are just If that's the goal, just be normal. Everybody needs to try and make that effort. You can't just have a few people doing that and then a couple people who are doing the robot, the facade, the poker face, whatever it is. Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah. And it's when you tell people that, and you don't do that, like when you tell people one thing but you don't really give that example, it's when like people start to stop trusting you.
Yeah.
And then
it creates cognitive dissonance.
Everything devolves, and just like you can't come back from that once it gets that bad, I don't think. Because at least for me, once I feel that I can't trust somebody, like, chat, we're cooked, I'm not going to be able to find a way to really trust you again. I may be able to try, but trust is important, and trust comes from just like being honest and authentic, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to build but easy to ruin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, any other like just quick hitters, things that just annoy you, like the lingo or whatever it is about company culture?
Yeah, that's the biggest one. I also hate when people say we're a family. You're not my family. You are people that I work with, but we are not related to each other. That's also annoying.
Yeah, don't put trauma bonding on a pedestal. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
If you're saying that, I'm expecting it to be like we're approaching our job in an unprepared way, and we're just expected to, not be critical of people when they make mistakes. And obviously, like, mom and dad in that family are going to be really critical of the kids when they make mistakes, but the kids are not able to be critical of mom and dad.
I think this is really ironic because your dad owns a business that you've worked in. You were really family.
Yeah. If you're in the Triangle area or in Wake County, go check out Southland Steakhouse. Best steak in Raleigh, even though it's not in Raleigh, for
it is really
3 years running at this point.
I need to go back. I haven't been there. I went for my birthday this year, actually, but I haven't been
there
since then.
We need to have another winner's dinner there is the thing.
We do. Right? We do. Absolutely. That would be delightful. It would be so good to see everyone again. When you're in a working environment, you should be, and not critical, but you should just be honest, be like, okay, this is maybe not working. You should feel like you should be able to say that. That's the psychological safety people talk about. But if you lie to people, then you're not going to feel like you can say, wait, this isn't right. And then it just, like I said, snowballs from there and gets worse from there. And to me, this is the last thing that I'll say, I think. To me, so much of this seems like common sense.
Right.
And that's, I think, the part that drives me the craziest is like, why is this so hard? Like, why do we still do these things? And also, why do we have to teach people how to do these things? Like, perhaps I just have the most wonderful mother in the entire world, because to me, it makes sense that you should treat people nicely and be honest and literally treat others as the way you want to be treated, etc., etc. All the things they teach you when you're 4. Like, to me, absolutely, I'm behind that. Why is it hard? I just don't get it. I think that's the most frustrating part.
Yeah, it's really just bananas. Anita and my mom must have come out the good mom factory, because it's the same way for me. Like, it's just how I've always been, like, why not just be nice to people? Why not just tell the truth? Why not just, treat people with respect and dignity? Why not? Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. And in the places where I have not been forced to be friends, I have always made the closest friends. Like, I have plenty of friends that I've made from working. And if you don't force people to talk to each other, they can actually build their own real, authentic relationships and be friends. I co-founded a magazine when I was in college. The person that I co-founded it with, I met working at Carolina Brewery in Chapel Hill. It's random, but guess what? We found out we had a lot in common because we were not being forced to, play a little game together or something to build team culture. We were just able to be friends. And I don't know, I guess I do need to honorable mention the way that people bond the best is when they have a common enemy. So maybe we do need mean people in the workplace so that people can have shit to talk and then they can become best friends.
Yeah.
So I take it all back.
When I worked in restaurants, you know, the common enemy, to your point, was always the customer, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
that is true.
Have you seen those people at table 4 are so annoying? Ugh.
Yeah. They tipped me like $1. Can you believe them? Yeah. I don't know. I have had plenty of workplace not favorites. I think they do bring people together. So I guess go in there and be bad. That way people can have something to talk about.
Yeah. Well, you know, if nothing else, it makes the day go by faster, right?
Nothing like a good piece of gossip to stop working and talk about nonstop, because it will never be boring.
Well, speaking of never boring, it's never boring chatting with you.
Oh, and right back at you.
I'm excited because I think next week we're going to try and get into a little bit about how, I mean, like I've told people this before, I think it's absolutely insane that you're in law school and running a business right now. And so like I'm really excited to, you know, look behind the curtain on that and see how you're able to just kind of keep it all together.
Thanks. I don't think it'll be quite as interesting as you think it is. At least to me, it's not. It's very regimented, but we'll discuss it. I will say I just recently joined the Student Bar Association. So, you know, I'm now a representative too. So add that to my list of titles.
Yeah. Is it just like your hobby of just like, you know, growing your resume? Just like putting more stuff on titles. The LinkedIn profile?
No, I'll go ahead and tell you this now as a preview, because this happened last night. When you walk into the school, there's a screen and it shows all of the student representatives, and it has a special one for the evening. And on that, there's a picture of my friend Justin and this big gray box that says vacant. Quite frankly, I just said, how hard could it be? I'm so tired of looking about that damn box, because none of the other seats were vacant and it just seemed depressing to me. So I just said, what do I need to do to join? And they just let me join. So the gray box is gone. And I'm not going to lie, that was a primary motivating factor for me joining this Student Bar Association.
Yeah. Sometimes like satisfying that like OCD urge is just all you need.
Absolutely. How hard could it be? And also like my class really looks like nobody wanted to join, so somebody needed to fill the spot, make us look like we really care about our school. So,
well, congratulations!
Thank you. It was a hard fought race, but you know, we came out on the other side. It was literally one email, but it is what it is. I'll tell you all about it next week, though, and all about the things that we've been learning. So.
It's going to be great. And we're coming out on the other side of this episode. Thank you so much. That's it for this dive. Thanks for being here. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at wavestream.media. And if you want a podcast like this one or totally not like this one, visit our website, wavestream.media. See you again soon.